She muted me. Right there on the quarterly all hands, in front of the founder, the board, 137 colleagues, Ashley Crawford clicked that button and announced she was outsourcing my project. I just sat there, frozen on camera, holding a pointer mid-sentence. My name's Tom Brennan. I'm 47, and that was the moment I decided to cost them $14 million. But let me back up and tell you how we got there. At 6:12 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, I was sitting at my kitchen table with half a granola bar, a client escalation the size of a phone book, and a headset that had become part of my skull. I'd been keeping this company's biggest contract alive for 5 straight years. My third call that morning was Frankfurt, screaming about an SLA breach that hadn't even happened yet. I handled it like always. 10 minutes later, Manila was pinging about forms stuck in some digital nightmare. Fixed that too. This was normal for me. While everyone else chased buzzwords and rearranged PowerPoint slides, I was putting out real fires with nothing but experience and elbow grease. The founder used to call me his safety net with teeth, said it right in front of the board. I laughed then, but I knew what he meant. I kept the whole thing from falling apart. Look, if you're nodding along here, maybe hit that subscribe button. Most of you just listen and vanish anyway. It really helps the team keep these stories coming. All right, enough of that. Let's get back to the wreckage. The thing about quiet competence is it works fine until someone shows up thinking volume equals strategy. Enter Ashley Crawford. She rolled in like she'd been shot out of a business school cannon. Perfect teeth, designer everything, and the kind of confidence that needs its own zip code. Her dad, the CEO, got her the VP of Operations title before she could spell compliance. I met her in the hallway on day 2. She was trying to connect her phone to the printer. "You must be Tom," she said. "I heard you basically run this account." I smiled. We both knew it wasn't meant as praise. At first it was all charm and awkward small talk. But within a month I started getting uninvited from meetings. Emails went to clients without my review. Process changes that ignored basic contract requirements. She'd copy me on announcements affecting my team, then ghost me when I asked questions. At one point, she called my work legacy ops clutter in the company Slack. Didn't tag me. I was just the punchline. And people started listening because she had a title and slides with synergy and 42-point font. She wore confidence like cologne, and most executives were too tired to question it. Meanwhile, I was still doing the actual job, still taking those early crisis calls, still staying late to review documentation, still making sure nothing caught fire. My team saw what was happening, but we were told to align with Ashley's vision and embrace the transformation. What transformation? Taking a stable money-making account and stuffing it into a blender labeled optimization. I didn't argue. Not yet. I watched. I documented. And when she called my workflow bloated, I smiled and nodded. Let the kid hang herself. But I'll be honest, by the 3rd time I got cut from a project sync, I felt it. That crawl in your chest that whispers, they don't want you here anymore. Still, I had leverage. They just didn't know it yet. And Ashley was about to learn what happens when you mistake silence for weakness. The first time Ashley rewrote my project schedule without asking, I figured it was inexperience. Second time, maybe ego. By the 3rd, when she rerouted a $4 million vendor invoice through her friend's agile task force, I realized we weren't dealing with inexperience. We were dealing with entitlement in a power suit. Ashley didn't ask. She declared. One morning I logged in to find a brand new workflow tool live for my team. No notice, no testing, no integration checks. Just a Slack link saying, try this out, it's cleaner. It didn't even have version control. My analyst spent 3 hours figuring out how to upload the right PDFs. We flagged the risks repeatedly. Missing escalation steps, unclear permissions, an API that had more holes than Swiss cheese. I sent it all to legal, copied her. She responded once. "We'll fix it on the fly. Speed over perfection, Tom." Great slogan for pizza delivery. Terrible for a multi-million-dollar service contract with penalty clauses. Then came the email, the one she sent company-wide. Subject line, Operational Efficiency Phase 2. Right there in paragraph 4 was this gem. Some legacy processes remain due to internal resistance from team members set in their ways. Set in their ways. She didn't name me, but come on. I was the only ops lead left from the original contract setup. It was a slap delivered with a passive-aggressive post-it note. One of my junior analysts messaged right after. "Was that about you?" I didn't answer. Instead, I pulled up the contract, the real client contract, because Ashley had started making noise about outsourcing the whole operation offshore. "Save 30% and look lean for investors," she said in one meeting. Never mind that the client's SLA specifically required US-based escalation. Never mind that I was named as the escalation lead. And never mind the clause buried on page 47, added back in 2020 during pandemic chaos, that tied the contract's continuation to named personnel presence. Named personnel. Me. When I brought this up casually in a leadership sync, Ashley waved it off. "We'll get the client to amend that. It's outdated language." I asked if legal had reviewed her offshore plan. She smiled. "Legal works for us. They'll sign off." I could have laughed, but I didn't. I just bookmarked clause 6.4b again and sent a quiet note to legal. Subject line: Reminder, section 6.4b named personnel requirements. No commentary, just the clause and a timestamp. After that, things moved fast. I got removed from weekly client calls. Ashley sent some customer success manager instead. Nice kid, but thought SLA meant service level agility. The client noticed. Of course they did. "Where's Tom?" they asked on more than one call. "Oh, he's working on internal optimization," came the reply. I was sitting 3 floors above them, watching, listening, waiting. The pressure built, not in outbursts, but in the way hallway conversations died when I walked by, in polite silences, in sudden non-invites to meetings I'd led for years. I was being erased one calendar update at a time. But you don't erase someone like me easily. You don't spend 5 years building a system with your fingerprints on every function just to get ghosted by a nepotism hire with an MBA and a hard-on for disruption. So I stayed quiet. Let them build their sandcastle. Let them move the pieces. Let them forget the foundation had my name on it in permanent ink. It was April 2020 when this all started. The world was held together with duct tape and panic. Our biggest client was threatening to pull out unless we locked down a dedicated escalation lead. I remember sitting in my home office on a call with their head of risk management, Tanya Rodriguez. She didn't mess around. Her exact words: "We need continuity, Tom, not just in title, in person. You keep this thing alive. If you leave, we leave." At the time, I was too buried in deadlines to realize how rare that sentence was. I looped in legal. We drafted the clause. Standard at first, dedicated escalation resource, subject to mutual agreement, blah blah. Then Tanya sent back her red line. She added 3 words, specifically Tom Brennan. Our general counsel Thompson raised an eyebrow. "You sure about this? Tying it to a person, not a position?" I didn't blink. They're buying stability. I am stability. So we did it. Section 6.4b, continuity of named personnel. It wasn't ceremonial. It wasn't HR fluff. The clause gave the client unilateral right to terminate penalty-free if I resigned. Not fired. Resigned. I hadn't thought about that clause in years. It was one of 1,000 safety measures we'd built when everything was on fire. Ashley had never read the original version. She'd seen sanitized summaries that made it all sound plug and play. The quarterly all hands was typical corporate theater. Fake smiles, canned energy, you know the type. I was slotted 3rd on the agenda, right after marketing announced we had a TikTok account now. My update was routine: client health, delivery metrics, escalation rates. Same data block I delivered every quarter like clockwork. Except this time, I wasn't just reporting numbers. I was marking territory, showing that the contract wasn't just on track, it was thriving under the system I'd built. I was maybe 6 sentences in when it happened. Ashley leaned forward with that reality show smile. "Actually, Tom," she said, cutting me off mid-slide, "this will be your last time presenting on this. We're outsourcing this project effective next cycle." Then she clicked mute. Muted me. In front of the founder, the board, investors, the entire company. I couldn't unmute myself. She'd disabled my presenter rights. Just a frozen image of me holding a pointer, mouth slightly open mid-sentence. Every fiber of corporate training screamed at me to stay composed. Behind my eyes, fire. You want to talk humiliation? Try having your career wiped like a whiteboard in front of 137 colleagues while your replacement gets announced like a product launch. You want to talk fury? Try being silenced mid-sentence about a project you built from scratch. Here's what Ashley didn't know. You mute my mic, I sharpen my aim. I didn't say a word, didn't flinch. I stared into that camera like it owed me money. Then I closed the laptop, mid-zoom, mid-smirk. Gone. Let her sit in that silence. Let her fumble through my report like she was reading hieroglyphics. What most people missed was our general counsel, Thompson 2 squares over. Right after I got muted, he leaned forward and started writing something down. I caught his expression before I left. It wasn't confusion, it was calculation. Because you don't mute a named individual without consequences, especially when his name protects the company's biggest revenue stream. I didn't go home that night. I went to my old files labeled continuity, opened the contract, the real one, the one I helped write during 2020's chaos, the one that said in plain legal language that if I resigned voluntarily, the client could walk. No fees, no arbitration, no delays. I was the linchpin, and the whole company had just watched Ashley announce my irrelevance on record with witnesses under a Zoom license that logs everything. After the Zoom disaster, I pulled up the contract again, my version, not the cleaned up one in the shared drive, the real one. There it was. Page 47, paragraph 2. If Tom Brennan, the named escalation officer, voluntarily resigns his employment, client reserves the right to terminate this agreement immediately without further obligation, notice, or financial penalty. You ever read a sentence that makes your blood go cold and then hot again? I stared at those words for a long time. Then I took a screenshot, saved a PDF copy, emailed both to myself. Subject line, 6.4B insurance. Without a word, I uploaded the full unedited contract to our legal repository. Added one note, original version, executed April 2020. No alert, no passive-aggressive commentary, just made sure it was there, time-stamped, quietly waiting. The next morning I walked into the office with 2 coffees, one for me, one for nobody in particular, smiled at reception, chatted with facilities about the broken elevator, played the part. But something had shifted. Because knowledge is one thing, leverage is another. And I now had both in writing, on record. The wheels were already turning. HR called me 2 days after the Zoom ambush. Voice trembling like they'd drawn the short straw, I walked in with my iced coffee and sat down like I had all day. The rep, Dana, opened with corporate soft serve. Hey Tom, just wanted to circle back on Tuesday's call. I think there may have been some miscommunication. I let the silence stretch until she got uncomfortable. She tried again. Ashley's announcement, she didn't mean it personally. You know, she's new to our culture, still finding her rhythm. I blinked. She muted me in front of the board, Dana. She gave me that sympathetic HR smile, the one that says, please don't sue us, just internalize this like a team player. Then the olive branch. Maybe we could frame this transition as a strategic pivot. We'd love to keep you involved during the handoff. I sipped my coffee. Am I being let go? Her mouth opened, then closed. Oh no, of course not. You're still employed. We value you. Translation. We're hoping you won't make this ugly. I stood up. Then we're done here. Outside HR's glass box, my team was unraveling. My senior analyst caught me by the elevators. Tom, people are freaking out. They heard about the clause. Is it true? I paused. What did you hear? That the client can walk. No penalties if you quit. I didn't confirm or deny, just told him to keep his head down and not forward anything to personal email. Let's not give them excuses for security audits. Then came the message. Junior Legal cornered me in the hallway like he'd stumbled onto a crime scene. Voice low, eyes darting. Is it true? Section 6.4B. We lose the contract if you leave? I didn't break stride. Check the signature page. He did. Within hours, the legal folder was blinking with views like a viral thread. The timestamp on my upload was crystal clear. Executed, still valid, still binding. The clock was ticking. People were whispering. The client had gone suspiciously quiet. And Ashley was posting motivational quotes on Slack like she'd just discovered LinkedIn. So I got to work. Final prep, no dramatics. Cleared my desk with the quiet efficiency of someone packing up an era. Stress ball, family photo, my favorite mug that said Operations King in faded letters. Wiped the keyboard, deleted browser cache, left everything pristine. Then I opened Zoom. Not for a call, for settings. Uploaded a new virtual background, simple white text on black, effective 9:01 a.m. I didn't need to yell. Didn't need a LinkedIn essay, just needed to show up one last time. Let them see it with their own eyes. The fuse was lit, and I was already walking away from the building. The next all hands was 9:00 a.m. sharp. I could feel digital tension humming through the meeting link before anyone spoke. Cameras flickered on like stage lights. Board members, department heads, brave souls from client success pretending they hadn't heard the rumors. I logged in at 8:59 and waited. Camera off, mic muted, resignation letter folded beside me. At 9:00, Ashley opened the show. "Morning, team," she chirped, eyes too bright, suit too crisp. "Excited to share progress on our lean operations initiative. We're already seeing results. Lower overhead, tighter deliverables, way more scalability." I watched her reflection in her monitor, eyes darting as she read from disguised notes. She was about to launch into slides about synergy and velocity. That's when I turned my camera on. No greeting, no wave, no words. Just me staring straight into the lens like I was making eye contact with every person on that call. In my right hand, my employee badge dangling like a severed lifeline. In my left, a signed resignation letter held at shoulder height. Signature visible, timestamp clear. Behind me, that black background with stark white letters, effective 9:01 a.m. I didn't blink, didn't smirk, didn't gloat. Just let the silence stretch. You could feel it hit the room like a pressure drop. Someone coughed. Someone dropped their mug. Ashley faltered mid-sentence, eyes darting to where I now dominated center stage. "Tom," she said, voice pinching upward, "we can discuss this offline." I clicked mute. Not to stop her, to stop me. I wasn't giving her the satisfaction of a back and forth. She didn't deserve my words. Thompson was 2 squares over in gallery view, always stoic, always detached. Until now. His body shifted, leaned forward, squinted at my letter. Then he looked toward the founder's square, which notably had no camera, just initials. I saw it all happen in 5 seconds. Ashley kept talking about leadership structures like I hadn't just detonated the room. But nobody was listening. Slack was lighting up in my peripheral vision. I held the frame for 30 more seconds. Let it burn in. Let them feel it. Then, with perfect timing, I clicked Leave Meeting. I left them floating in awkward silence. 9:01 on the dot. The exact moment the clause activated. The second I logged off, company chat exploded like someone had tossed a grenade into Slack. Threads erupted. Did he really quit? Was that his actual badge? Is the clause real? In one channel, someone posted a screenshot of my background. In another, the link to the legal folder where the contract had been quietly sitting, time-stamped, untouched until now. The founder had been watching from Florida, camera off, probably still in golf clothes. Nobody noticed he was on until Thompson stood up, pale, and looked straight at his square. "Tell me he didn't just do that," the founder said, almost to himself. Thompson adjusted his glasses, eyes locked where my square had gone dark. "Tell me she didn't just quit him." Nobody answered because everyone knew she had. Thompson didn't wait for permission. Left the room mid-sentence, phone already dialing. This wasn't a drill. By the time he reached Tanya, the news had traveled. "I'm calling to clarify Tom Brennan's employment status," Thompson said, voice clipped. Tanya didn't bother with pleasantries. "So he's really gone?" Thompson hesitated. "We're still assessing the situation." "We're not," she said. "We're reviewing our options. Without Tom, we have none." There it was. Years of stability boiled into one sentence. She didn't yell, didn't threaten, just invoked Clause 6.4b, the same one she'd insisted on during the pandemic. The clock was now ticking for them, not me. Inside the company, chaos bloomed. Ashley tried to keep talking after I left, but confidence was rotting in real time. Board members stopped smiling. One investor killed their video. Another asked, "Who's taking over his responsibilities today?" Ashley blinked. "We've got coverage in the offshore pipeline." "No. Today," the investor repeated. "Who owns the relationship right now?" No answer. She looked like someone watching the floor collapse in slow motion. Meanwhile, I was back in my apartment, barefoot, watching rain hit the window. Made a sandwich, listened to a podcast, let chaos unfold without me. Serene, unplugged, already unreachable. Because I knew what they didn't yet. You don't recover from nuking your named individual on live video. You don't silence the one person your contract requires to exist. And you sure don't do it thinking there won't be a price. 21 hours and 13 minutes after I held up my resignation letter, the client sent formal termination notice. Subject line, activation of Clause 6.4b, immediate contract exit. That was it. No negotiation. No frantic calls. Just one clean email confirming that the biggest account in the company, $14 million annually, was gone. Investor confidence didn't wobble. It collapsed. By midday, 2 board members had canceled upcoming meetings, citing urgent internal matters. One forwarded a message chain demanding to know what idiot approved this transition without succession planning. Ashley's name appeared 5 times in the first paragraph. In Slack, leadership channel went dead silent. No GIFs, no emojis, just suffocating quiet. The kind you hear after someone slams the door for the last time. Ashley tried damage control by 2 p.m., spinning the loss as regrettable but manageable churn. Even pushed out a company email titled "Change Brings Opportunity." It ended with some blogger quote about chaos and opportunity. Unfortunately for her, chaos also leaves craters. Thompson wasn't playing along. When asked if the contract was lost because of my resignation, he didn't hedge. Yes, he said flatly. Clause 6.4b was triggered, valid, binding, and ignored by leadership despite warnings. He didn't mention names, didn't need to. It wasn't just money, it was optics. The founder's prized account, built on 5 years of reliability, vaporized by one ill-timed mute button and a daughter's inflated sense of immunity. By sunset, industry Twitter caught wind. Someone leaked a vague thread. VP silences operations lead on live Zoom. 24 hours later, largest client gone. Wonder why? 12K likes in 2 hours. I got texts from old colleagues. You nuked them with one gesture. Legendary. They're walking around like it's a crime scene. Clause 6.4b. Beautifully played. I didn't reply. I was busy with a new onboarding plan for a different client. One that had called that morning offering a consulting gig. They'd seen the fallout. They knew the value. They wanted the person who understood systems, not the kid who broke them. I wasn't angry anymore. That had drained out days ago. Now there was just that glassy sensation of vindication, of knowing you were right and letting the world catch up. They outsourced my project, but they forgot the one thing they couldn't replace: me. The email leaked 3 days later. Nobody knew who sent it. Some say it was ET, others swear it was finance. Doesn't matter. The board email hit like a brick through glass. Subject line, you muted the named person. No greeting, no sign-off, just fury in prose. The founder was done pretending. He'd stayed quiet through the fallout, hiding behind PR statements. But with the M&A deal circling the drain and investors calling all hours, gloves were off. The email wasn't to Ashley, it was about her. We entrusted her with continuity and got ego. You don't silence the clause mid-call and expect no consequences. You muted the named person. You signed the exit slip with a smirk. By the time they tried containing it, screenshots were in group chats across the org. Someone made a meme. Ashley's face photoshopped onto the "This is fine" dog, surrounded by burning contract folders. By Friday, she was stripped of oversight, quietly suspended pending review. Her Slack disappeared, parking space reassigned. Only trace left was a meeting titled "Strategic Synergies." Nobody had energy to delete. Legal did what legal does when tired of being ignored. They confirmed the clause's validity in writing and forwarded it to every active client for transparency. Calculated move. Signal flare that yes, the company failed, but only because certain people forgot how contracts work. The M&A deal postponed indefinitely. Buyer wanted stability, got viral resignation, and cratered forecasts. Company valuation dropped double digits. Recruiting froze. Key engineers jumped ship. But me? I was 6 steps ahead. Already accepted the consulting offer. New office, new badge, new start. Nothing flashy, just 4 walls, decent chair, and a client who asked before making changes. That Tuesday morning, a bouquet arrived. Deep crimson roses, elegant, simple. No card, just a folded note under the ribbon. If you ever want to come back, we'll do it your way. I didn't smile, didn't cry. Just placed the note in my drawer next to a copy of the clause they forgot. You know what I learned from all this? Sometimes the best revenge isn't getting mad. It's staying calm while everything you built without proper respect crumbles exactly the way you knew it would. Sometimes the most devastating thing you can do to people who don't value experience is let them learn why experience matters. I spent 5 years building something solid. They thought they could improve it by removing the foundation. Turns out gravity doesn't care about your MBA or your synergy slides or your father's connections. It just works. Funny thing, I never raised my voice, just made sure they finally listened. And now when people ask me about corporate loyalty, I tell them this: be loyal to the work, not the company. Companies forget, contracts remember, and sometimes, if you're lucky and you pay attention to the fine print you helped write, justice comes with a resignation letter and a Zoom background. The client that hired me, they read the news. They knew exactly what they were getting. Someone who honors agreements and knows the difference between disruption and destruction. That's worth more than $14 million. That's worth everything.